it seemed I could have been reading into this as though if they have that much emotional trauma that it kind of sounded like she was gonna cheat on you if you left her alone long enough. Did y'all get that? Maybe that's just me, but that's kind of how that
Yeah,
sounded to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Marcus,
Okay.
I got the same
he
thing.
definitely said that.
Hmm
He
He
definitely
alluded to it. Hmm Because how
So
quickly she would move on if you, like, for example, you're trying to cut her off or wasn't giving her enough attention, or if you were gone for a certain period of time, she would find somebody else real quick because she's
mm,
almost addicted to just having somebody in her space, in her face all the time.
so James, do you think do you think that emotional damage with these women leads or men leads to trauma? They also can promote the inability to be faithful.
I totally agree. I agree with the video because I from the conversation that he was having, I knew he was talking about women. That's when I first heard it. I thought he was just talking about women. I don't think he was talking about men. And
Mhm.
I think women they will have more sexual intercourse, but men we would be more violent. Like we'll be more when we emotional damage, we'll be on that line, on that tip. So, and there's nothing new under the sun, man. We hear stories about all this type of things in the scriptures and all type of history and things like that of how and I think this is a time where men we're gonna have to be more disciplined in what we're doing with the ladies, because if we continue down this path and just plan them out, it's going to be a lot more trauma built in these women, because these women don't know nothing right now. Honestly, these women are like babes, and we're going to have to instead of giving them the meat, no pun intended, we're going to have to give them some milk. You know what I'm saying? So, so they can kind of get ready
But
to know what a good man is, and to be able to be those wives that we want them to be.
okay, okay, fair enough. We got to get them some milk slash a bone. Okay, so Louis, pause. Louise, in your experience, have you ever dealt with this? And if so, did it make it difficult to be in a relationship with somebody, or did it disqualify them in your mind from being in a relationship?
Um, it's kind of interesting sitting back listening to everybody share, because like I kind of reflect back on my kind of upbringing and the people that I was around growing up. I didn't really experience any heartbreak or any of that until I got to college. You know what I'm saying? And then, I did the Trev thing, right? Because like I saw like, the great couples and all this and that. And I started to kind of see and take off the glasses and really see how the world was really moving and
Lewis,
how
you start fucking fat girls like Trev?
nah.
Oh, okay.
I must have missed that part of the story, Trav.
Shannon White put that on me, man.
Shit, why you
Hey,
do
man,
him
not
like
not
that,
too much
man?
on Big Shirley, okay? Um,
Oh,
but yeah, like I started to kind of see like how like relationship was like sort of like something that was in the rearview mirror. Like a lot of people wasn't focused on that. And sort of when I started to kind of change my perspective of how I was viewing relationships at the time, I did go off the deep end, right? But in that same conquest, I started to kind of notice a lot of women who had very to little no self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? Like they like you could see that glare in the eye, like they've had a rough like you know childhood or a few things, like, but you don't really notice or know these things or start to kind of think to yourself until you get a little bit older, a little bit wiser. You know what I'm saying? You've been through life a little bit more, and you start to kind of realize, like, yo, not everybody has the same upbringing. Not everybody has the same fortunate outcomes. And a lot of people do go through unfortunate circumstances that lead them to decisions or lead them into situations that then themselves years later reflect back on, and they'd be like, wow, I couldn't even believe that I was that person, or I did this, or I went through that, right? It has a lot to do with, your childhood experience and in the things that you're exposed to early on, right? Like those are, I know we kind of hit on this theme, right? Like, there was a good example of what was it, a Tyler Perry movie. It was like Addicted, where the woman, like she was married, she had all this stuff, but she was like constantly addicted to sex. You know what I'm saying? It was never enough for her. And sort of like she later in the film like kind of reflected back that she had gone through some unresolved childhood trauma. And there are a lot of people out here that go through certain things like that are unresolved. I mean, the most I would say probably like 40 to 50% of the people out here who are trying to date have been through that and are trying to resolve it through the new person, right? And they're just collecting all these bad experiences. So yeah, I think it has to do a lot with emotional trauma, but I think it has to do with young childhood trauma that later on reveals itself in adulthood.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I appreciate that. When we go to Rilla, I'm flipping this question for you because you come from Chicago, because you know about music. When you think about somebody like R. Kelly and his childhood, does that change how we view this question any? And do you think that affected him specifically in a way that led to maybe increased promiscuity or fetishes or illegal sexual preferences?
I'm sitting up here rocking like a damn grandma in the church. Fuck. I don't think it affects how we look at the question because it's so many Robert Sylvesters that we know, right? And what became of him as a result of what happened to him is not surprising to a lot of us. If Antoine Fisher had turned out the same way as a result of what happened to him, wouldn't have surprised us, right? And if I recall, in historian Shan could correct me because I don't fully remember reading his book. I have it. I just don't fully remember reading in his book where he said he was, hypersexual as a result of what happened to him. Matter of fact, he retreated from sex because he was that repulsed by it. That's how much damage that had done to him. His manifestation was violence. He was violent. That's how it manifested. Jesus Christ. That's how it manifested for him.